Hi, Karen Craig Parker here with your weekly Human Design Evolution Report. I have a lot of things to unpack for you this week, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible and also in such a way that I don't overwhelm you with too much information. Before I can talk about this week, I have to really just unpack a little bit of what happened last week because it sets the stage for where we're potentially headed this week. Last week, as we talked about, there was a lot of tension. With the tension that the celestial weather was bringing us last week, we were provoked and challenged. And the provocation and the challenge that we experienced last week on many levels, whether it was personal, whether it was collective, that provocation and challenge served two vital functions. The first function was it caused us and is causing us still to have to really explore what's the vision of what we're building towards and what's in that vision is really worth fighting for. And number two, it was energy that got under our skin. It was provocative energy that is forcing us to look at where are the things in our lives out of alignment with the true nature of our abundance, and what do we need to do to recalibrate those parts of our lives that are not living in harmony with the idea that we have enough, we are enough, and we have more than enough to share with the world. That's what we got set up with by basically, most importantly, the sun and the earth, and of course the shadow of Mars last week. I don't usually say this, you guys know this, but I'm a little bit concerned about the celestial weather of this week. There's still tension in the air, and we're moving towards some other celestial tension spots, if you will, over the course of the next few weeks. I think it's going to keep being a little bit bumpy. And I'm telling you this not because I'm wanting to frighten you, but because I want to really encourage you to do whatever you need to do to really ground yourself, take care of yourself, nurture yourself, and stay dialed in to your own intuition and instinct over the course of this week in particular. The bumpy weather, if you will, starts on Thursday after the new moon when on January 13, the sun is conjunct Pluto in the gate 61. So the Pluto is an energy that can be wildly transformative. My original astrology teacher used to tell me Pluto is like a grandmother. And when Pluto comes along in their grandmotherly role, they shake things up and really point out those places where you're not aligned with your potential. They bring the lightness into the darkness and really cause you to have to grapple in the Gate 61 expression. The Gate 61 in quantum human design is called the Gate of Wonder. Really grapple with what is truth. Now, that's not a new question for us. That's a question we have been grappling with all last year. The big theme of 2020 is the question, what is truth? And we've played this theme out in every area of our lives, including in the media, including on social media, in our relationships, in our leadership, in the way in which we connect with each other. We have been exploring what is true and what is truth. And that truth I'm talking about is truth with a capital T. Now, if we look at this cycle as a catalyst for the next 7 years of growth in the human story, what we see is that this year, this cycle that we've been in, has been a flashpoint, if you will, for the potential for huge growth, pushing us towards 2027, where the ultimate truth that we will begin to construct the world around is this. Every living being on this planet is inherently valuable because it exists. That each and every one of us is a irreplaceable, vital, and unique part of the cosmic plan, and that we all learn to live and create from the perspective of each and every one of us is a valuable, precious, once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. We are learning to build a world that reflects that truth. But to do that, to get there, we have to clear the karma of what has come before. If we are in any way embodying our trauma, embodying a consciousness that supports a belief system that disallows our seeing the value of others or our own value, then that has to get burned away. If you think about this cycle as being an alchemical process, this has been a year that's been the flame that burns away the dross on the coal and supports the the creation or the pressure or the fire that can transform the coal into gold. We are getting ready to seed the quantum field, if you will, with something bigger, something better, something more sustainable, something more peaceful, something more worthy of us as divine siblings, as human beings. But we can't do it till we get rid of all this old stuff, which means we've got to pick up all the crud off the ground, and we have to pick up all the truths. And instead of denying them, instead of turning away from them, instead of pretending like they didn't happen, we have to get eyeball to eyeball with ourselves collectively and personally in front of the mirror and go, yeah, that happened. That's true. And so what do we need to do to heal it, to create justice, to do restitution if we need to, in order to make the karmic foundation from which we build clean, aligned with the truth that every living being is valuable. That's what we've been learning. And that's the energy on Thursday that Pluto kind of brings around in conjunction with the sun. It's a reminder, if you will, after the tension of last week, it's a reminder of this inherent truth. And it will force us to have to really look at, what are we doing? What are we building? Where are we perhaps settling for less than? Where are we afraid? Where are we holding ourselves back from taking those right steps that will bring us into alignment with truth with a capital T? It's an energy that promises to be very divisive, because the opposite of truth is fantasy. And certainly with Jupiter and Saturn both lighting up the gate 41, the gate of fantasy, the potential for fantasies about truth is really high. And that makes trying to figure out and analyze what's going on a little bit challenging, which is why I say to you all, please, please, please stay connected to your own inner truth and do whatever you need to do to sustain yourself and your own connection to your inner truth. And maybe don't play in the external manipulation of facts that is happening on our planet right now. The truth is, we are inherently loving beings. The truth is, we are inherently precious. The truth is, we do better when we're diverse. The truth is, we need to continue to build this world that is a reflection of the truth of who we are. And as we move into the final thrust of this catalytic cycle that we're in, there's going to be potentially a dying gasp, if you will, a big uprising that's going to try to hold on and prevent the changes necessary. Because that's how evolution happens in the human story. It isn't always just 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward, woo! It's more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's still 1 step forward. I said that last week and I still mean it. 2 more steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, a little bit step back. There's always a little bit of push and pull in evolution, and that's okay. It's actually necessary for us to have conservatism built into the evolution process. So that resistance, look at it with compassion, but also set good boundaries and hold people accountable, which is part of what's coming in the second big event that we see this week. Just after the Sun and Pluto go conjunct, Uranus goes direct. Now, Uranus has been in a retrograde station since August of 2020. And, anytime a planet goes into a retrograde station, it can kind of feel like the energy of that planet is a little bit dormant. The way I like to think of it is sort of like Uranus has been muttering to itself since August of 2020. And as it starts in its direct station, it's kind of like it's coming out with a war cry that says, all right, that's enough. Now, Uranus is also a planet that sparks catalysts. It's a catalyzing energy that oftentimes creates change by pulling the rug out from under your feet. It's the planet that brings unexpected twists and changes in the plot outline. Now, we've seen that all last year, right? A lot of you were saying last year was like Jumanji. Jumanji is a Uranian game, okay? So Uranus is back. And Uranus comes back in the gate 27 in quantum human design, the gate of accountability. So Uranus is coming back and Uranus is taking names. Now, the gate 27 has the potential to catalyze us into setting rules, laws, and values that provide for the nurturing of the well-being of the world. That's the potential of the 27. It's mama bear energy. It's nurturing, it's caring, it's rocking babies on your lap and cooking for your family kind of energy. And legally, it is literally the energy of accountability. And certainly I would say that with this Uranian emergence, it's a call for people to be held accountable for their thoughts, beliefs, and actions that they have created with over the past year or longer. So this battle cry of Uranus says, okay, you guys need to take responsibility for what you've been doing. Now I'm going to bring you the circumstances that are going to force you to have to deal with what you've done. Now, in the shadow of this 27 energy is rigidity, values that refuse to budge, and people who adhere to those values in a way that, again, refuses to respond and to evolve to the changes at hand, to the evolution, if you will, of humanity. Now, this rigidity, again, mixed with the fantasy energy, can, again, create a murkiness around what is really happening. Again, I want to invite you to remember that the planets are doing their job. They're supporting us in the bigger picture of our evolution. And you are certainly, it's certainly important for you to explore where you also personally need to be accountable to yourself, to your loved ones, to your choices, to the things you've done, to the thoughts you've had, to the karma you've been living out. That's huge. And the more we stand and take responsibility for it, and the more we embrace the awarenesses that we have, the truth that we are seeing, the more we step into that and really work with that from an accountability perspective, the more we can not only hold ourselves accountable, but hold others accountable for their own self-worth, for their own self-empowerment, so that we don't become pawns of dark power or dark ego, and we can instead hold space for everyone to create from a place of awareness, a place of enoughness. But it is an energy that will require of us to set boundaries. It is an energy that requires of us to value ourselves enough to set boundaries. It's an energy that requires of us to not be codependent or to, in the worst case scenario, become martyrs to rigid values that are fantasy driven and not rooted in truth. I'm only saying I'm a little bit concerned about this energy because of the quantity of the tension we experienced last week. I want to lovingly and gently say, I think it's going to be important for us to stay aware, to really be dialed in and tuned in to the possibility that as we move forward into a new evolution of what is valuable, what is worth fighting for in our collective expression of life, that we need to be aware of the places where there's resistance. We need to be aware of the places where people are not honoring our own value, again, on a personal level and on a collective level, and to draw a line in the sand. Accountability is essential when we're playing with this energy. Now, the sun this week is in the 61, as you know, with Pluto. So again, the sun is inviting us to really ask the question, what is truth? To not get stuck in the question, why, or why is this happening to me? To find the blessings in the challenges, and to not let our rationalizations keep us stuck in old patterns that refuse to evolve. The earth is in the gate 62, the gate of preparation. And certainly I would say that in the midst of all of this potential chaos, this earth energy says, as long as you stay connected to yourself, your own inner wisdom, your guidance, you're going to know what you need to know when you need to know it. You're going to know what you're going to need to do if you need to do anything to hold yourself or others accountable, and to trust your own intuition and your own inner impulses around whatever you might feel you need to do to be prepared for the changes at hand. We have 2 more weeks after this of really intense weather. So I just want to say, take some breaths, pace yourselves. Don't get lost. This is the thing about the 61 energy. Don't get lost in the minute, day-to-day crisis here, chaos there, interaction over here. The little pieces of the puzzle are coming together. The 61 is an energy that says, don't look at the little events. Take a step back and look at the big picture of what's happening. And when you can see the big picture of what's up, you'll see that these little micro events are necessary as part of the process of clarifying what is really valuable and what is true, and how do we build in alignment with what we know is inherently valuable and inherently truthful, that supports us in crafting a collective plan, a collective way of being in this world that honors and creates the in alignment with the value of each and every one of us, and expands upon the quality of well-being and sustainability for every living being on the planet. That's where we're headed. Even if people are resisting it, it's true. So listen to yourself, trust your intuition, take good care of yourselves, try to stay away from anything that might be manipulating your perception of truth, trust your own awareness of truth, take good care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you next week.